You are listening to All Burgundy and Go Errrything's post-game show powered by the Urban Sports Scene and Fox Sports Radio, 1340 AM and Hopewell, Virginia radio show. So make sure you understand. I know, Glenn. I fouled that one up. It's all good though. Anyways, the Commanders, and Bengals preseason post game show. The Commanders defeated the Bengals 21-19 in their final preseason game to go undefeated at 3-0 in the preseason. I'm Wole, and I'm joined with my co-host Glenn. We also have Adam Aniba from the Burgundy and Gold Report. What's going on, fellas?
Hey, how's it going, man?
We're good, man. Hey, it's exciting. 3-0, right? Like I remember when this team was like undefeated in preseason with Steve Spurrier. It was like
Yeah,
amazing.
right.
Hey, before we get into the actual preseason game, let's get into the particulars. Hey, subscribe to our podcast on Spotify, iTunes, and Google Podcasts. Just search All Burgundy and Go Errrything. Also tweet us at ABG_Errrything and hit us up on IG at ABG_Errrything. And like our All Burgundy and Go Errrything Facebook page. Do not forget to subscribe to our All Burgundy and Go Errrything YouTube channel. Hit the red subscribe button and also like this video if you're on YouTube. All right, let's get right into it. Adam, I'm gonna start with you because you kind of dissect players to the T. So obviously you saw guard Sadiq Charles and Chris Paul playing this game tonight. Who do you think played better at guard?
I don't know. I think it's a kind of toss up. Like with me, Sadiq Charles, granted, he has more time in the NFL, but he's not healthy. Can't stay healthy. Paul, again, he's another one that's transitioning playing tackle at Tulsa. I like Paul's upside. I'm cool with Sadiq Charles starting, but he just can't stay healthy. So throw it up in the air. I say Sadiq Charles probably gets the start, but again, I don't see him staying healthy. So I think inevitably Paul ends up being one of the starters.
So I mean, in terms of like the play today, was there a big difference though in tonight's game to you?
I'll be honest. Some of it got caught off with my
Got you.
stream. So, but from what I saw, I don't know. I think they're pretty neck and neck. But I think with Charles being injured and missing some time, that could hurt him. But I think he still ends up being the starter.
That's cool. That's cool. I just feel like, yeah, I was watching the game. It wasn't like a big difference to me, a thorough difference. Like I said earlier, I need Sadiq Charles to play because I need something for this Trent Williams trade. I know
Yeah,
I'm real selfish about it. Like I feel like if you want to let one of the greatest tackles in the game, period, in the history of football, go for it in a trade, like this dude got to get the opportunity to play. Like he has to get the
for
opportunity to play.
sure.
I don't care if it's guard, tackle, whatever. He's playing guard.
Yeah, but you
Let
got
his if he's good enough to play guard and let him play. If he gets hurt and it's over, whatever. But he deserves. I think not deserves because of the trade.
Right,
It
right.
merits him to play because I don't want it to be a waste. Like I'm sorry, but I'm on that boat. I'm that person.
yeah, but we know why Trent left anyway. I mean, he was got to go. I know we got Charles for him, but I think Charles can be better if he stays
Mhm.
healthy. I'm not better than Trent, but he can be a valid starter if he
Yeah,
stays
guard.
healthy.
Yeah, I mean, he was supposed to be a tackle, but I don't care. I just need him to be good. I need him to
He just,
play.
he just needs to be on the field. This offensive line just
Right.
needed consistency on the field, and they needed consistency in the offensive line for this team to be successful this year. And any guy who's healthy that can manage him can play needs to play.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I do like Chris Paul. Like I wanted Chris Paul to start, because I like what I saw in that Cowboys game. So it's not like I'm not a Chris Paul believer. I am a Chris Paul believer. But if you're telling me between the two, I'm just gonna be stubborn on this one. Not I'm stubborn, and I don't even care. Chris Paul's better. I don't even care. To be honest with you, I don't care. I know me. I don't care. Like I need I need to see value for Sadiq. Like you traded the best tackle in football. And I know Trent didn't want to be whatever, but darn it, like this is what we got out of you. Like there's other like this is what we got. We got Sadiq Charles out of you. This is what we got. Like this the kid needs to play. But I'm with you, Adam. Like I want to see him prove like to stay healthy. You know what I mean? Because obviously to me, like looking at what he did in LSU as a tackle, blocking Joe Burrow in that tough conference, like it's in him to be a decent. I mean, he was playing tackle. In him to be a decent protector, a physical guy in the run game. It's in him, right? But then
Right.
moving you to guard, and usually that transitions pretty well. Like you're moving from left tackle because you couldn't cut it in the NFL to guard. I've seen many examples when Leonard Davis was moved from tackle to guard and became an all-pro guard. Like you see it everywhere, right? So and even Brandon Scherf was a left tackle in college in Iowa, moved him to guard, and he was an all-world guard here. So, I do think that there's an opportunity for that to happen. You see that with Cosme. You're
Right.
hearing rave reports from Cosme from tackle to guard. So I just think like in this situation, if he could just stay healthy, he could be productive. He just has
I'll
to
s-
stay healthy.
I'll say this about Charles. We know for what we saw in Kansas City and what they're talking about, we're going to see a lot more in the screen game. They're just going to rely on that a lot more. And Sadiq Charles definitely has a leg up on Paul over that. Again, he's still transitioning, but that's definitely a strength of Charles. So I'd like to see him, stick it out and try to stay in there because it's a good issue to have as far as, backups. I'd rather have Paul just continue to, refine his skills. But, it's interesting to see what's going to happen with Ricky Stromberg, too, because, a third rounder, backup center. But he's looked pretty good at guard in the offseason. And that right side with Cosme Wiley, that's definitely a bigger concern for me right now.
How do you think Stromberg played? Did you get a chance to catch him? How do you think he played?
Yeah, I think he was decent. He's got a lot of things to learn. I'm not sure I would start him right now because that's kind of thrown him the wolves. I think just getting him to reps at center and guard, I think that's only going to help him. But in the end, I don't be surprised. I'm just not sold on Gates. I think Gates, he's got the dog in him. He's a decent player. I'm just not sold on him. I know that they want to be a starter. I think Stromberg. At some point this season, I think, if it's injury play, I think he'll definitely be the starting center at some point.
Yeah, I can see that. So, Glenn, I'm going to start with you on this one. You had third string Jake Fromm have another good game, went 13 for 18 for 144 yards, 2 touchdown passes. Could have been 2 touchdown passes for it was legit. Could have had it earlier for Tinsley. But, there's a lot of chatter out there about, him outplaying Jacoby Brissett. Do you think he's outplayed Jacoby Brissett in this preseason?
No, I don't. I think Jacoby Brissett been consistent. I think both of these guys have been consistent. And you got to look who they're playing against, right? You got guys who are playing, let's call apples and oranges orange, right? You got guys who, when Fromm comes in, he's playing with guys who's trying to make the NFL roster. This guy has been around for a while, and he knows the offense. You can tell he's learning the offense. He knows the offense, know where everything's supposed to be at. And good for him. I mean, I think Washington should carry 3 quarterbacks, right? Carry 3 quarterbacks. You have 3 quarterbacks and you have 2 guys who are consistent. Jacoby Brissett has been a starter in this league, right? Jacoby Brissett has been on some good teams in this league. Jacoby Brissett was the backup to Tom Brady, right? In New England,
Deshaun
right?
Watson
and Deshaun Watson, right? So Jacoby Brissett can play in this league, and I think he showed that he can score touchdowns too as a quarterback with his offense, that he can march his offense down the field. But he also showed, and we saw in the first preseason game, that he can do it with his legs, right? That he can do it with his legs. And so let Jacoby Brissett, who's a veteran in this league, be number 2 and Fromm be number 3. And it's okay for have 3 quarterbacks on the roster.
Adam, what about you? What do you think?
Yeah, I think Fromm just made the team, honestly. I think, it's probably on the fringe if they were going to try to keep him on the practice squad, considering, there's 16 spots now the teams can have. So, but I don't think that he'd be safe. I think some team would probably scoop him up to be, the third quarterback. So I think after tonight, he'll make the team. But yeah, there's no question between him and Jacoby Brissett. Look they're playing at guys that are probably going to be out of the league. Fromm again, he looked nice. I like the timing I saw from him. But he's no Jacoby Brissett. And what I've seen in Brissett in the offseason, I've seen growth from the tape I watched in Cleveland. I think that time that he had in Cleveland last year helped him out tremendously. And, that's one thing that's crazy going into this season, that if Howell somehow misses a couple games, gets hurt, I think this team can still ride with Jacoby Brissett. But, trying to say with Fromm, I think people start to, get a little crazy with that.
Yeah, I agree with both points. I will say this, though. I've watched Jake Fromm the last 2, and I liked him in Georgia. So I'm gonna preface it by saying I do have like a slight bias with Jake Fromm. I did like him in Georgia. I liked him in Georgia. I thought he was a gamer. He played tough, played to win, he played smart. Then I saw him in the league. I was like, maybe the league ain't for him. But I will say this is the most comfortable I've ever seen Jake Fromm look. And I don't know if that's attributed to Eric Bieniemy in this offense, but he looks very comfortable. And and he is decisive on what he's doing, and he knows what he's doing. He knows who he's throwing the football to. He's accurate. It's not like he's throwing into in double coverage. He knows where he wants to go with the football. He doesn't hesitate, and it comes out smooth. It just looks like Jake Fromm I saw in Georgia. You know what I mean? Now, I totally agree with everybody. Like, it's a different competition. It's a different. You're playing against a different competition, right? What's up, George? George says, how much has Bieniemy's coaching made a difference with Fromm? Exactly, that's what I'm saying. I feel like Bieniemy's coaching has definitely helped. But I will say that with Fromm, I mean with Jacoby, between the two, yeah, Jacoby's definitely the guy that you want as your backup. So just to kill the noise with all the Commander fans just talking about Fromm looks better than Jacoby. But I do think this is good for Jacoby and it's good for Washington, right? It's good to have a quarterback room with three dudes that you feel comfortable with. Like, God forbid something flukish happens where you lose two quarterbacks. You can look at Jake. You don't want to be in a situation where your third string quarterback is your starter, but God forbid that happens. You're like in a situation where maybe this guy could steal a game. You know what I mean? Like he could steal a game, and you won't feel as bad. You won't feel as scared and concerned because usually we've seen this team in situations where the first quarterback goes down, the second quarterback goes down, and then it's that third quarterback they sign off the street, and you're like, this dude this dude can't cut it. You know what I mean? Like you can't cut it. So, but now you have a body of work
developing.
That you see they're developing. You see it in preseason from what you saw in preseason. You're like, okay, like this kid and Jake Fromm, he looks like he understands the offense and he has some confidence going into the season because yeah, we can say like you're seeing lesser competition, but there's something about being an athlete and being confident and saying, you know what, I played well. And if I can do it here, I can translate this into the regular season. I can show if you give me the flip side to it is if you give me a Terry McLaurin, you give me a Jahan Dotson, you give me a Curtis Samuel, you give me a De'Ami Brown, you give me a Robinson in the backfield or Gibson, I'm gonna show you something different. You know what I mean? Like, so if you're a competitor, that's what you're thinking. So I do think, granted, I think the talk about it should cease. I agree with that. But also, it is a good problem to have for Jake Fromm because if you're the individual Jake Fromm, if you've seen your NFL life and where it was going, this gives you confidence. You know what I mean? So I'm all for it. I'm all for it. I am happy with Jake Fromm. I really am.
Yeah.
I think that this is something that he can really go with. So I mentioned earlier, like this team undefeated, 3-0. Made a joke about Steve Spurrier, 3-0. Like I was geeked up at that time being a Redskin fan at the time, and I was so happy about that. I don't know. I thought we were going to win the Super Bowl that year. I haven't. I was obviously delusional.
We all were drinking the Kool-Aid.
And we were right. Coming from Florida, like okay, we're gonna be scoring like 50 points every game. And it is what it is.
Yo, we thought Spurrier was the savior, baby.
We did. We really did. We did. Glenn, I'm gonna start with you, man. So, and we have this poll up too as well. But do you care about this team going undefeated in the preseason?
At first I would have said no, but I'm gonna say yes. I'm gonna say and probably I care that they're undefeated because you've seen them being competitive. You see every dude in that organization, every guy wanting to win. In years past, you haven't seen that, right? In years past, they didn't care. You can see the passion, you can see the energy, you can see the excitement, you can hear the fans, right? Like you go to the third preseason game, they can't even put the fans on camera. They can't even show seats in the stadium because it was so empty. Tonight they had a lot more fans that was there, and it was true Washington fans. It wasn't Bengal fans, right? So you care about that because it continue to give you momentum going into the regular season. And I'm not just talking about momentum on the field, but I'm talking about momentum in the community, momentum because this team was so. You think about last offseason and all the drama that was around this team. And you look at what has shifted in a year, and the wins make a difference in shifting what the organization wants to become. So that's why the wins are different. Does the 3-0 mean they're going to go to the Super Bowl? No, it just means that you have a team who's competing and is capable of winning football games going into the regular season.
You talking about you can't go to the Super Bowl from free? They can't. What you talking about, bro?
You got some people right now play some bets on this team to go to the Super Bowl, and they crazy. Let's see first 4 weeks.
Look, man, I had it before. Look, man, like my devotion, I had them going to the bowl before preseason. But anyway, Adam, I'm going to you, man. For you, is being undefeated in preseason a big deal for this organization?
I don't. To me, it's more important that they got out of the preseason, off-season, healthy. You like to see with the new offensive coordinator, the offense moving and they're going 3-0. That's what I like to see. There's competency. The offensive line, started to click a little bit. Even the backups. That's what I like to see. But as far as record goes, it means very little in my opinion.
Like for me, my man George said last time that they went undefeated in preseason was 2013, and they went 3-13. Yeah, that was with like Shanahan and like RG3 like messing the system up. Yeah, but yeah, you're right. I will say this though, for this, or because it's different. It's a different climate. This is what I will say. because I'm kind of at first I wouldn't care, but this is like because of where this organization is at right now and what they're trying to do with the fan base. I do think it's important, and I'll say
Yeah,
this: the
for
reason why
sure.
is because now you're creating more of a buzz. Like you want to go into this season knowing that that first game against Arizona is a sellout, right? You just want to have you want to continue this positive vibe.
Right.
And I know people joke the Ravens, and I've said this in Glenn. I said this last week. The reason why I love the Raven streak, I love about it because it's like, yeah, it's preseason and you shouldn't care, but you are preaching an air of like we don't want to lose, like we don't want to lose, and I'm all for that. Like, yeah, preseason when you're dissecting it, like for you, Adam, when you're dissecting preseason, you don't care about the overall wins and losses. You care about the individual. That's how you're supposed to. That's how it's supposed to be in preseason.
Right.
But when you're a coach, I feel like it's for a coach. When you're a coach, yes, you do care about the individual, but you do want to breed you want to breed competition, and you want to breed this dog, this mentality. Like I don't care if you a dude that's about to be cut, but I want you to understand like we don't tolerate L's here.
Right.
Like we don't tolerate losing. You know, on any level, like we don't tolerate losing. We want to win. I want you to do your job well, but I want you to play to win, right? So I do like that mentality. I do like that. I do like. I think 3-0. And if you got a new regime, I know Ron's been here, but it's the Eric. We call this the Eric Bieniemy era. This is what it is. All right, folks. This is the Eric Bieniemy era, and and Josh Harris and Magic Johnson. We'll include all that. It's that era, right?
Right.
You want to go into it saying, you know what, we don't value losing. You heard Josh Harris on Monday night in the booth saying, I know it's preseason, but we want to win. Like it's a thought, it's a mentality. Like
Yeah.
you want to, if you've been and this is the thing, if you've been a loser for X amount of years, yes, it has to start somewhere. It does before you get to like keep like getting on a roll in the regular season. It has to start somewhere. You got to start it from the genesis in the beginning. Like this is where it has to begin. So if you started here in preseason, it's like we playing to win. Like that boy to me, the Baltimore Ravens. Not forget this game. Like it's the last preseason game. I ain't gonna hold you, but that Raven game means a lot in this aspect. You had two squads trying to win, trying to win. I don't care some of these dudes ain't making the squad, trying to win, and one squad, and one team won and broke your streak. That's important for morale in terms of the mentality of your whole unit. Now, the dudes who do make the team, those third stringers, they know losing ain't it. This ain't what we about. And even going into this game, like they were down, but they came back because it's that mentality.
Right.
I know it's preseason, but we trying to win. Like we want to win. Like I know you gotta put up good. You gotta put up good film on tape. I get that. Like you got to because you may not make the squad, and you gotta put up good film for the other squads looking for you, right? But now, but you still at the same time, you gotta win. Like that's what we're about. That's what I do. Like I think I like that message that this team is bringing out. So in that element, because you're trying to change the culture all the way around. I would say like yeah, winning to a certain extent does help out. But in terms of individual play, obviously the cuts are going to happen after this game, like after this game weeks in a week or two. I mean, in a week, excuse me, in a week after this game. Um, who do you think helped themselves the most tonight, Adam?
Man, Mitchell Tinsley looks really good. But the
Yeah.
thing is, too bad he can't be a returner because I think if he added all that, he'd bring it all. But
Yeah.
right now, Kaz Allen and Pringle are fighting for 5, maybe 6, but both of them have returned background. Tinsley doesn't.
Mm-hmm.
I think what he's probably done is I don't think they'll be able to protect him to get on the practice squad because I just think that he shows enough. It's just about raw ability. I think that there's going to be a team that's willing to sign him to the active roster. So I think out of anybody tonight, he probably showed out enough. But and you know about how I feel about Hudson. Hudson is just getting better and better and better. I think he's a kind of player that with everything going on with Jamin Davis, I think you could start seeing Hudson really getting involved in more snaps. You have Barton that's new. But the thing is, Hudson, man, he's the elder statesman now, with Jack Del Rio's system, and he can have him in that Buffalo nickel. He can have him in multiple roles. So, I think that's another guy who, really did a lot for, I don't think he was a roster bubble hopeful,
Yeah.
but I think as far as, play tonight, those are the two that really stood out to me.
Yeah, the big run, the big tackle for a loss tonight. Yeah, he had a nice tackle. How about you, Glenn?
Same thing with Hudson, man. I like Hudson. Kaz Allen. I want Kaz Allen to be on this football team, right?
I want, yeah,
I
but
gonna
want, I
yeah,
want Kaz Allen to be on this football team. I don't want Dax Milne to be on this football team, right? I don't. Just in return game alone,
yeah.
Hudson is getting more yards than Dak, right? I know they're looking for another receiver. You can help you. I mean, you can help Kaz Allen produce the receiving aspect of it, right? The
Right.
returns is going to win you a game. We knew this as a fan or as a journalist too. We knew that Dax was going to put his hand up and not return anyway, right? He was just going to catch the ball. He was going to catch the ball and not gain you any yards. Allen tonight got you 31 yards when you needed it late on a late one, right? It gave you good field position or the clock.
Yeah.
That's what you're looking for. You want the return guy to be able to get you some yards to not have you back up or start on the 25. I really think Allen helped himself a little bit tonight to make this team. I really do. It'd be interesting to see. If I was Ron Rivera and that staff, Dax would go and Kaz Allen will make this team.
For me, it was. I thought I like what Jace Whitaker did. Had an interception. I thought he had a couple key pass breakups. I did like what he did. I'm not sure he's gonna make the team, but I just thought he helped himself a lot. I was so impressed with his play. Obviously, Mitchell Tinsley. I think he had over 80 yards on 3 receptions. A touchdown, should have been 2 touchdowns. To me, I think he should make the team. I think if I had to put up like six receivers, he would be the 6 for me. And I think you can make Pringle do return. He did that in Chicago. He can do returns. Like I feel like if you really were worried about that position being a guy who can help your team in the receiving game, like say we talk about Dax Milne, because I feel like Dax would get that last slot. Because I think Cass, and we'll talk about who hurt themselves, but I think Dax in a way. I feel there's a favoritism in that room, and I'm not saying with EB, but with people in the building for Dax to make the team. I'm not sure if EB loves him. I'm not sure. He may love Dax, to be honest with you. I don't know, but I just feel like Dax is in a place where he's positioned to make this team. But I just think that if you're looking at player for player in the receiving game, I think Mitchell Tinsley just has more to offer. I'm not gonna lie to you. I think, and if the thing is returning, then Dax ain't a returner. That's the thing. If the thing is returning, Dax ain't a returner. We've seen it already, but we know Pringle can return. Like we know that. So if that's the case, if that is the issue, Pringle's going to make the team. I think we all know that Pringle's going to make the team. Then he can be the returner. And if he can be the returner, then I think Mitchell Tinsley has more upside. He can do pretty much the same thing that Dax is doing. So like that's my thing. So we'll go back to this though. And I'm gonna start with you, Adam. So who tonight hurt themselves?
I don't think anyone jumped out that really hurt himself. I think a lot of those guys were, not likely to make the squad anyways. So I don't really think anyone totally hurt themselves. And again, Tinsley definitely jumped out as far as a guy to help himself. But I don't think there's necessarily anyone that really hurt their chances, because I think a lot of the positions, especially, you mentioned cornerback, I think that Holmes did enough earlier in the preseason to really show that, he's progressed from last year. Danny Johnson will be interesting to see, after what Mark Andrews did to him, how he'll recover. I think that they'll probably put him on IR to start the season. So it depends how many corners they make. But I think that they're so deep in the safety room that there's not going to be much room for, one of these, back of the end roster cornerbacks to make the team. Because I think that you're going to see 5, possibly, 6 safeties.
Glenn, who do you feel hurt themselves tonight?
I don't think anybody really hurt themselves. I think people continue to show us who they were,
right,
and who they are.
Yeah.
Wild Goose continue to show us who he is, right? Who we know what we get.
I don't even mention that dude's name.
But you know what you're getting, right? So I think players showed us what you're gonna get, right? Rodriguez showed us what kind of back he is.
I like him.
And what he could be, right? And what he could be, right? I like him.
Him a lot.
I agree with Adam. Guys didn't hurt themselves. They just showed us who they were and who they are and what they can add to this team. I do have a concern about Jared Patterson.
He'll get cut, but it's unfortunate though.
Yeah,
he'll be part of your practice squad. He'll be a practice squad, but it's unfortunate. Right. I do think he deserves a little bit more love. But go ahead.
I do too. Same thing. He's been around last year and the year before that. He's always been around, and you can just see this year with the rest of the running backs that he's not going to probably not make this team.
Yeah, because Gore gets more burn than him.
Right. So that's
Like, all right. So for me, it's wild. So for me, the folks that I felt hurt themselves, I thought Casimir Allen hurt himself. The muff kickoff return, 2 drop passes. I think in a situation where I'm rooting for him. Like I'm rooting for him for real. Like and the first one I was like, he's be all right. Then the second one, I'm like, okay. The third, then the muff, I was like, come on, like they're looking for a reason. You don't want to give them a reason to like cut, like to not, well, because I feel like he's a practice squatter. Like he could be a practice squatter, right? But you're like giving them a reason because I feel like again, I feel like there's a bias to Dax. I just do it. I feel like there's a bias to Dax, regardless you knowing that this kid has that kind of potential to be a game changer in the special teams realm, right? There's still once you are biased to one and you do something that can quote unquote feel like you can do something that could cost your team a game, like a muff punt, then it's like, okay, like we can't trust him. Now you're labeled like you can't trust him. So I thought that like, all right, he had a game that hurt him. Dax Mills, I thought he had a game that hurt him too, to be honest with you. That slant pass up the middle he dropped. I'm like, dude, if you dropping passes, you're not valuable.
Right.
Like if you're not, you're supposed to be the sure-handed dude. If you're dropping a pass, you're dropping a pass on the slide, then what are you? Then what are you? Then what are you for this team? So I thought his game wasn't impressive. And I think that compounding that, when you see what Mitchell Tinsley did, it was like, okay, Mitchell Tinsley did this, and you did that, against similar competition, and Mitchell Tinsley was doing that. Like he was making game-changing plays to me. So looking into that, I'm like, all right, well, that hurts you, in my opinion. That hurts you. And if you're going 6, I can't see a reason because of what there's one thing that's been consistent. And I know you hear in camp that Dax catches everything in camp and this, that, and the other. But I've heard about Tinsley in camp. I've heard about Tinsley, and I've seen Tinsley make plays in preseason. And this last game is sometimes, bro, it is what it is. That last game is the thing you remember.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's the thing you remember. And I'm looking at it like, okay, this dude basically had 2 touchdowns, 2 explosive plays. Like he was short-handed. The first touchdown, he was wide open, but he made a play to get in the end zone. That was all will to get into the end zone. Like I just feel like in that, like when you look at that and then compare it to where Dax is at, like I'm like, you know what, bro? Like you may hurt yourself a little bit.
I think they also they consider who could clear waivers and go to the practice squad, and
True.
I think Tinsley will be hard. Allen, I think
so
you can get him on the practice squad.
Yeah.
Pringle is a guy that EB's familiar with, and I think that are they going to line up a rookie returner? I don't think so. So I think that Pringle could have the upper hand, but again, it depends how many they keep. And the thing that has to be said about Allen, you talk about Curtis Samuel, very similar players. He played running, played receiver, and he's actually more raw as a route runner. Believe me, he's actually really good in gadget plays. You're talking about the screen game. That's where Kaz Allen can be, more valuable than Pringle. So that's going to be a hard decision. But like I've been saying, on our show with Doug and George, I just don't see him keeping 6 because I think that they're going to keep 4 tight ends because I think Hodges, that's a guy that really is a wide receiver that started playing tight end in the NFL, and I think that they'll want to keep 4 tight ends over 6 receivers.
You think Hodges hurt? You don't think Hodges hurt himself from last game?
No. I think they like him a lot. I think they love his height. 6'8". They love what he can do in the open field. Now I think he makes the team. If Logan Thomas was 100%, I'd say that might not be it. But with Logan Thomas the way he is, I think he'll make the team because of it.
See, I don't think he makes the team. See, I don't think he makes the team. I don't think Hodges makes the team. I just don't. I just think.
I think they don't. Trust
I think his effort. I think his. Say you don't trust who?
Logan.
I don't.
I think your point. I think your point is excellent, Adam. Actually, I think your point is excellent. My thought process is Logan's gonna be ready for like the. But see, my own thought process is like I don't even care for like no knock on Logan. I don't care for Logan. I like Cole Turner. I don't care for Logan.
I think Cole Turner. Yeah.
So I don't really care for Logan to that extent, but I do agree with you. I do like you make a very, very, very valid point. So do you think they keep a fullback? I think they're gonna keep the fullback. Do you think they keep?
Well, they like him. Yeah, they like.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like,
so that's gonna be something to watch that they could keep him. EB doesn't. And Andy Reid, they're not big on using fullback in sets, but they will use them. So I think there's a chance, but I think that he'll clear and he'll be able to go to practice squad. So in the end, they'll just keep the 4 tight ends. It'll be Thomas.
That's not a bad one either.
We talked about Turner and Bates, and
Bates.
then Hodges will get that last
So
spot.
how about this though? Do you think that Hodges? Because I feel like Hodges can make practice.
Yeah, he could. So that's the thing. You know,
Yeah.
do they like the fullback slash tight end for the regular roster or personally? I've watched a lot of Hodges film. Again, it's all receiver from Arizona State. Yeah. I wouldn't keep him because I think you can get him on the practice squad. And I just think they're really looking to do a lot more in the screen game. And that other kid, I think, adds more value than Hodges does, and because he's not a good blocker at all right now. Cole Turner has shown gains with that.
Yes.
Bates is is the best blocking tight end, and then Logan Thomas is what he is. So I think that'll be the decision making, like, because really in the preseason, we're seeing digs, comebacks, out routes. It's really about 3 or 4 packages, patterns, kind of thing.
True.
You're going to see a ton of RPO, quick game, screens. So who fits into that when you're going like 12 personnel, when you're going 2 tight ends or even 3 tight ends? So Hodges, I think that they like him a lot, but that doesn't necessarily mean he's going to make the 53-man roster. They're Arizona. What I would like this, I heard this on Kevin Sheen's show. I would love this because you go against Arizona the way they are right now. Then throw it 30 times a game. Because then you start going against Denver. When you go against Denver, you run it 30 times a game or more. You know what I mean? I think it's going to take a couple weeks for teams to really catch on, and it's all about personnel, like what you can do with that. And Hodges, he's just not. If you're really looking to go, run heavy to really establish that, which they're going to have a lot of games they have to. He's not going to really add much value with that because, like I said, he's a borderline. He's just a tall receiver that they have lining up in line, but he's not going to do much for you on the edge.
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, the screen game is going to be big because the enemy want to get those guys, the quick guys, in space. He wants to get them in space. Your Antoine, your Gibsons, your Curtis Samuels, and those guys, get them in space and see how far they can go with the football. Even your McLaurens, look for some wide receiver screens and stuff like that. Your Jahan Dawson's, to be able to get them in space and have the football. And we know those guys with the ball in their hands can make a difference. And so that's one of the keys there. And running the football is going to be key. Brian Robinson's running the football and see if those guys can continue to pound the rock and see how much the enemy does with a running game and how much to keep people off of Sam Howell. When you go quick screen games and when you go running games, it's all about keeping people away from your quarterback. You're getting the ball out of his hands quicker.
Yep. Yeah, it's in our Twitter polls as a Commanders fan, does it matter to you that the Commanders went undefeated in the preseason? We have 60% that said yes and 40% said no. Hey, Glenn, do we have any more comments?
Yeah, man, George got a good comment here. That he mentioned. I put one up there for one.
All right, I agree with Glenn. I think it's part of the new vibe. The preseason has been so different, and fans are happy and optimistic. Right. Players are energized and excited. Eric Bieniemy gives this team a jolt. I agree. I do. I think it's the end of Eric Bieniemy era. I do. I think
it does more for the fans than it does for the actual team, to be honest.
Yeah. But I think the fans. I do think that the fans gives the team energy. Like you can see it. Like they're playing with a different beat, right? I agree with you though, Adam. I do think that the Eric Bieniemy aspect, it helps obviously as a coach the player, right? It improves the player, right? But the energy comes from the energy may not, right? The energy it gives the fans helps the players. If that makes any sense, right?
Yeah, because I mean, as a player looking in the stands, let's say Dallas week, right? And we know traditionally Dallas week there were more blue and silver.
I call it NFC East week, period.
NFC East week, right. You'll find more of the opposite team in the stands. If this team is doing well and this team is already jolted, you'll find more burgundy and gold, more excitement, more cheering in the stands than you do your opponent, and which gives players energy. You find that on every level, whether it's a rec league, high school, college, teams. That's why playing in Michigan, nobody wants to play there,
Washington fans travel well. And I think they're just looking for a reason to have some optimism. And if they win week 1 convincingly, which I think they will, it'll be interesting because Arizona just traded for Joshua Dobbs. I think they'll still go with McCoy just because he's they knowledge. Yeah. But I think if they do what I think they're going to do in that game, I think it's going to be one of the best games for Washington in the last decade. That's gonna make fans erupt, and I think that's what they need, because if they can go 2-2 in those first 4 games, that's where I have them, I think they have a legit shot.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's the schedule kind of in the beginning it was like it's a tough schedule, but I will say like the Arizona thing has changed because they're tanking for Caleb
I think
Williams.
Denver's changed too.
Yeah, Judy. Oh, I'm about to say the
Yeah.
same thing. So now we're talking
There you
like you lost Judy, you lost the kid. The kid from Penn State can't play football because of
Yeah.
and it sucks. It sucks, but obviously, I hope his health is good. I do. I hope his health is, I hope he can turn it around. But they're not the same firepower. They don't have the same firepower on offense. So that team is different. Now, Denver defense is legit, but
Right.
in terms of offense, it's not the same offensive team that
But
you
this
were
team
seeing when you look at the schedule.
This team always play Russell Wilson tight. Russell Wilson always doesn't have a good game against.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, and it's still Russell.
Washington.
And I know. I mean, obviously, people want to talk about Sean Payton, great. I mean, great offensive mind. No one's saying he's not. But like Russell isn't the same Russell. It is what it is.
It's not, Peyton, that's the thing. Everyone wants to think that he'll turn everything around, but that also involves Wilson willing to stop what he's been comfortable with doing over the years. And I don't think that that's going to happen right away. I just don't.
There's a reason why the whole let Russell cook type of thing. Like, like he was successful playing one way and he didn't want to do it anymore. Put it that way.
Right.
That's what it was.
I gotta
so
put this one up there.
That doesn't change. That doesn't change off of that's not going to change.
I'll put this one up there just because
JD, New York Giants own you and the NFL. That's hilarious.
just because the Washington Commanders have had struggling with the New York Giants. If you go back to a couple games,
that's cool. That's cool. You like Scott Turner. That's what's up. You ain't gonna like Eric Bieniemy. You ain't gonna like Eric Bieniemy. That if you want to know the truth, bro, you're not gonna like Eric Bieniemy. If you think you are not going to like what Eric Bieniemy does.
Giants are well coached. That's what the best
they are
for them. But if you want to talk about their roster from top,
their roster's bad.
I think they talk.
I mean, I do like Darren Waller. I'm gonna give him some credit. I do like Darren Waller.
Yeah.
I like the trade that they just did with Arizona.
He gives up though. That's the thing. Waller, again, I've been watching him from day one. I like him, but man, he gives up. There's a lot of games that he'll check out if he doesn't get the ball. But
I feel like it's a new. I feel like I'll put it this way. Last year was different for him in this aspect. I felt like. I mean, you can say what you want, but like that dude, he gets a lot of opportunities. Like that coach over there gets a lot of opportunities, and it didn't vibe, and it didn't vibe with Carr, and it didn't vibe with Waller. I do think that going to New York will be good for him. It's a better place for him. Like I do, and he is talented. I like Isaiah Simmons. I'm one of them. I'm one of those individuals. I like him. And they have a decent defense in terms of like their front four. I do like their front four. But you have a quarterback I don't like. And your cornerbacks aren't that good to me either.
And that's their issue.
Exactly. So it is what it is. All right. I mean, I get you. Like, y'all, you beat Scott Turner. Good for you. Like you beat Scott Turner. That's all I'm gonna say. You beat Scott Turner. You're not gonna like EB. You're not gonna like a Super Bowl champion. Put it that way. You're not gonna like a Super Bowl champion. There you go. But yeah, is there any more, Glenn? Is that it?
George says Darren Waller will eat against our linebackers.
I can see that.
That's an issue.
That's an issue.
But and again, this is where we're going to see guys like Percy Butler, Martin get challenged. I don't think you're going to see guys like Barton and Jamin Davis on Waller or any of these kind of. I think that's why they made an investment in this backfield. So those are the matchups I think you need to look for more than our linebackers. I don't think that they're going to isolate their linebackers often because they don't have that talent right now. That's not what they do. I think talk about the Buffalo nickel. I think more Cam Curl. I think Cam Curl is a guy I'll see matched up against Waller with Butler and Forrest playing deep. You know what I mean? I think it's going to be that's to me. I love the receivers. I'm excited for EB, but I think I'm just as excited to see these defensive backs as I think they finally have a group now. Even if they sustain an injury, it's not going to, unless Cam Curl, because I think he's too valuable. But I think what they have in the defensive backfield, man, that's going to make all the difference this year. I think that makes their floor, to me, 8 games as far as how bad they can
be. And they're all ball hawks, and I think I can see more interceptions this year and turnovers with this record.
I will say this, I mean, Cam Curl has always been the most important person on the defense. Just you saw that against San Francisco last year when he was out, and you saw with what's his name, Little. You saw what Little did to that secondary, like he was running free. And it was no secret. I mean, and it's no coincidence because Cam Curl wasn't there. Like I'm not saying that Cam Curl is going to strap George Little, but he would do better than what we saw. But I will say though, in terms of again, I go off the last game of the season. I do think that Percy Butler, I think he's a guy that if Cam Curl did go down, not in a long period of time, like you would. I mean, it's not the same. Cam Curl's better. Like there's no argument there. But I do think that Percy Butler can step up a little bit better than what we saw last year when Cam Curl went down and there was nobody to step up. I do think that Percy's, and when we saw I like what I've seen out of Percy Butler in preseason, and what I'm hearing about him in camp. So I do think that he is putting himself in a position where he can help this team if somebody goes down, because we all remember that even last year, the emergence of Defoe, Percy Butler was going to get that position. It looked like he was going to get that position, but Defoe kind of emerged to be the guy, right? So I just think that Percy Butler is an individual that I think that if an injury did go down, I wouldn't be scared with him being on the field.
Nah,
I think
he had a decent preseason.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah.
He had a pick. He's not scared to lay somebody out.
I mean, he's a hitter, and that's
yeah.
the thing. He goes to
and
college,
look, and he runs 4.3, and I'm all for that. He flies around the football, and I'm all about a person who's not scared to make a play, and I think he's not scared to make a play.
But again, that's the secondary this year. The secondary are guys who are not scared to go make a play.
Yeah, secondary. I am concerned with Quan Martin, but I feel like you'll get the best out of Quan Martin next year. You know what I'm saying? That's what I believe. I think you'll get the best out of him next year. I don't think you'll get the Quan Martin that everybody's looking for now. You know what I mean? And I do think a lot of it for him is mental. When you start a preseason game like that, it's a snowball effect. Like you start to question yourself. It's natural. It is. It's very natural. But I think you get the best out of him next season. You know what I mean?
And keep in mind with him, he's another one you throw into the mix, and safety.
Agreed. Yeah.
Right now, Nicholas is best, but yeah, man, Nicholas, that's a hard position to play a year. So I think that they won't throw in the Wolves. They'll play him sporadically. Again, I think Butler, Forrest, and Cam Curl. I think you're going to see those guys together on the field at least 60% of the time this year. I think it's going to be a heavy Buffalo look this year.
Yeah, and I actually think, for me, Adam, you've watched more tape on him than me. I actually think Martin can be a better safety than nickel. That's me.
Yeah. I think it's debatable because again, I want to see an NFL film. It's a big difference from Illinois, but right now, as far as a single high, I think Percy Butler is probably the best single high safety. He's and then you have Defoe. What I like about him, he gives the versatility as a single high and strong safety. So you're in a good spot right now.
Totally agree. All right, well, this has been a dope show. About to wrap this show up. Hey, subscribe to our podcast on Spotify, iTunes, and Google Podcasts. Just search All Burgundy and Go Errrything. Also tweet us at ABG_Errrything and hit us up on IG at ABG_Errrything. I like our All Burgundy and Go Errrything Facebook page. And do not forget to subscribe to our All Burgundy and Go YouTube channel. All right, red subscribe button. Hit it. Like this video. There we go. And yeah, this has been cool. Adam, you want to plug anything, my man, before we end the show?
Always check us out. Me, Doug McCray, and George. We have our show on Monday. We were doing a summer series. We're gonna be transitioned to, doing our Monday show after the game. So we'll have that every Monday. B&G Report Happy Hour. We're all together. We brought our shows together for one. But always check out my content at theburgundyandgoldreport.com.
All right. So, and you got a YouTube channel too, right?
Oh yeah.
So make sure, bro. I'm gotta make sure you plug it all, man.
The Burgundy and Gold Report, the Burgundy and Gold Report on YouTube. That's where you'll find me, my show with Doug and all those guys. Any other appearances I can get on there, but yeah, they're burgundyandgoldreport.com.
Oh, I love it, man. I love it. Hey, anyway, folks, thanks for tuning in. Thanks for listening to me, to Glenn, myself, and Adam. Anyway, you've been listening to All Burgundy and Go Errrything, powered by the Urban Sports Scene and Fox Sports Radio 96.9 FM and 1340 AM. Hopewell, Virginia, for ages. You dig? Deuces. Hey, folks, we out.